Right, hello, and welcome back to E3. Today is the third lesson, so next week we'll be halfway through the course. For those of you who've forgotten, my name's Margaret, okay, so you can refer to me, ask me questions in the lesson. Okay, who can remember the glossary topic from lesson 2? Last week we looked at the topic of shopping and the internet. Okay, so without looking, senza guardare, without looking at glossary 2, we're going to start with our dictation, okay? I will say a word in Italian, senza guardare il glossario della scorsa settimana. I will say the word in Italian and you write the word in English. Do you remember? Vediamo cosa riuscite a ricordare. Okay, let's see what you can remember. So you should have a pen and a piece of paper at the ready. Okay, are you ready? Shh. Number 1. Beneficio. Beneficio. Number 2, copertura o segnale. Copertura o segnale for your telephone. Number 3, caratteristica. Caratteristica. Okay, excuse my Italian accent, but there we are. Number 4, merce. How do you say merce in English? Number 5, pezzo or articolo. When you buy un pezzo, un articolo on the internet, what do we say in English? All right. Number 6, traffico telefonico prepagato. Traffico telefonico prepagato. All right, how do you say that in English? Can you remember? The next one, SMS. That's the Italian. How do you say it in English? Send an SMS. You don't say send an SMS, you say send a... Okay. The next one, acquistare. Acquistare. Right. Next, violazione dei sistemi di sicurezza. Can't even say it. Violazione dei sistemi di sicurezza. Okay. How do you say that in English? On the internet, next one, effettuare una ricerca. Effettuare una ricerca on the internet. In English, 3 words. Next one, dipendenza. Dipendenza. This was a word on the glossary that you should know. The next one is un piano, nel senso di un piano di pagamento, un piano. And the last, garanzia. How do you say garanzia in English? Okay. All right. If you didn't understand my Italian, these are the words I said. And the answers that you should have written are these. Beneficio is benefit. Copertura, quite similar, coverage. Coverage. Caratteristica, a feature. What features does your telephone have? Merce, we said goods, always in the plural form. Pezzo, articolo is item. Pay as you go. Traffico telefonico prepagato. A text message. all right, is what we say for an SMS in English. I'll send you a text. I'll send you a text message. Acquistare is purchase. Remember, not purchase. Purchase. The R is silent for the pronunciation. Breach of security. Very important for you engineers in here. Violazione dei sistemi di sicurezza. Breach of security. Run a search is how we say to use the internet. Dependence, dipendenza. Scheme, a scheme. What pay scheme do you have? Piano. And the last one, garanzia, is warranty. Okay. Your answers should be quite good at this stage because it's only a week ago that we looked at this. You should be aiming to get at least 10 correct in a list of this type. All right? So if you're not doing very well, try to do a little bit of extra work on memorizing your vocabulary lists. Okay, let's have a look then at today's lesson. We're going to start today with some vocabulary, and today's topic is the world of work and jobs, a very important area for the IELTS exam. Then we'll be doing some listening. Again, we're going to be looking at the last text of the listening, which is the lecture, and we'll be looking at 4 different question types that you could find at the exam. So we'll look at the techniques for answering those questions. Then we'll be doing some grammar. This week we'll look at the conditional forms, which are useful for the IELTS speaking, the last section, and in the writing in task 2, when you have to evaluate and talk about solutions and possible results of different solutions to problems. And finally, we'll look at some reading, and again, we'll take 2 different types of questions and look at the technique for doing those in the exam. So, first of all, can you get out your glossary for today? You should have lesson 3 glossary with you. If you don't have it, try to move and sit with someone who does have the glossary. Otherwise, the next part of the lesson will be quite impossible for you to do on your own. So, when you come to the vocabulary, remember you need your glossaries with you. Okay. Here are some questions. Which of these would you like to do? Which wouldn't you like to do? And why? I want you to discuss these questions with a partner. When you see a symbol like this, it means I want you to, I want you to, where does it go? Torna indietro. Okay, it means I want you to talk together. Okay, so when you see that symbol, talk to the person next to you to answer the questions. So, which of these would you like to do? First of all, work freelance. Okay, you can see that this phrase is in blue, and that means it's translated in your glossary. So if you don't understand the word, you can find it in Italian. Okay? Would you like to work part-time? What's the opposite of part-time? Full-time, that's right. Part-time means a reduced timetable, less hours a week. Full-time is a full timetable. Okay. Have an office job. Okay. You can see a picture here of someone working in an office. The person with the glasses at the bottom of the screen has an office job. Okay? Do unskilled labor. All right, again, you'll find that word translated, but in English, unskilled is a type of work which requires no specific professional qualifications or training. Okay? So labor is another word for work. Which of the pictures would you say describes unskilled labor? Probably the people working in the fields. You don't need any specific qualifications to work picking things in fields. Unskilled labor. Work in a team, okay, you can see the people in the railway are working in a team, working not alone but with a group of people. Working outdoors, again, referring to the people in the fields. What's the opposite of working outdoors? Working indoors. Okay, good. Sorry. So what I'd like you to do is talk together about which of these things you would or would not like to do and try to give a reason why. Okay, I don't know if you remember, but in lesson 1, we looked at some ways of expressing our likes and dislikes. Do you remember? We looked at the phrases with I'd like and I wouldn't like. Do you remember an alternative verb for like that we could use here? I'd enjoy. Good. Remember, I would becomes I'd. We use the contracted form. So I'd like to, I'd enjoy. That's for like, not would like. I'd love, maybe, would be the alternative. Okay. Shh. After I'd like, what preposition do we need before the next verb? I'd like to. All right, so I'd like to work freelance. Do you remember that we said that phrase is okay, but we can add an extra word to make it more precise, our answer? We could use a word like really or quite or very much. Do you remember? So you could say something like this. I'd like to work part-time because I could have more free time to do my own activities at home. All right? And that's fine. A very simple answer is all you need. So choose some of these options and tell your partner what you would and wouldn't like to do. Okay? Talk together. You've got 2 minutes. Try to use the words. Okay. Okay, benissimo. Okay, thank you. Shh. Thank you. Could I have an example? What? Give me an example. Okay, so one of the students in the aula, in the lecture hall, said, I really love to work in a team because we can exchange information. Now then, if you say, I really love, you're talking in general, not about a possible future type of work. All right? Here it says, what would you like to do in the future? All right? So your answer must use the structure would. I'd really love to work in a team because we could exchange information, okay? So remember, listen carefully to the question and think, is it like or would like that I need to use in the answer? Okay, let's move on then. What I would like you to do now is put these words, again, all blue, so all in your glossary, into the right column. Now then, you may not all agree which column they go into, but I'm asking you to do this so that you begin to think about the words and how you could use them, not just what is the definition of this word. All right, look them up in your glossary. I'll give you 2 minutes and then decide where to put them in the columns. Okay, let's have a look at your answers. Okay, so a factory worker, somebody who works in a factory, would have what type of words in that first column? What do you think? Okay, one at a time. What did you put in the first? Okay, he works shifts. Okay, when the day is divided into different timetables. A factory worker, for example, might have to work at night and not during the day. He would work the night shift. Okay, this timetable, which is a bit different from a normal timetable. Okay, shifts. Overtime, yes. Often when we need to finish producing a certain quantity of goods, maybe a factory worker is requested to work extra hours to complete the number necessary. So extra hours, overtime. What else? Unskilled, often, yes, you don't need a particular academic qualification to work in a factory. And also, sorry? Demanding. Okay. Demanding in reality is usually a job which requires a lot of mental energy and kind of a physical strength because maybe you have a long day. But it's very much connected to how much you have to concentrate. So factory work, it could be demanding in the fact that it's very repetitive and you have to keep concentrating, but it's more a mental capacity demanding. So I would say not really factory work. It would be more related to the company manager, maybe. That would be a demanding job. It requires you to be very quick, resolve problems, think about things, be practical. This is demanding. Okay. What else then for the company manager? Demanding. Okay, normally you need some qualifications, maybe in economics or something, and perks. Okay, if you're a company manager, you are often given a car to use and you don't have to buy your own car. So that's a perk, okay, of the job. Journalists then, the last words are work freelance. Okay, you don't work always in the same office, but you write articles and send them to different newspapers and journals. You work freelance. And maybe it is rewarding. Yes, it can give you a lot of personal satisfaction, be rewarding. Okay. Now then, I've just said most of these words. What I would like you to think about before we go on to the next slide is where in these words we put the accent. Okay? In the first column, where do you put the accent in that first word? On the O, on the or on the I? It's on the O, isn't it, here? Overtime. Overtime. You should try in your scripts to underline the part of the word which is accentuated. Overtime. What about the next one? Let's look at the second word, because that's the most important. Okay, unskilled. It's on the A. Listen then, it's labor, not labor, but labor. Unskilled labor. What about the next one? Very easy, it's one syllable, so shifts. It just goes on the I, doesn't it? Shifts. Okay, what about the next one? The first one for company manager. Okay, demanding. On the A. Demanding. Notice, when I say demanding, the first syllable of that word, de, is not demanding, but it becomes shorter and changes sound. Demanding. All right? It becomes shorter. So when we accent a part of the word, it should be given a little longer time than the other parts which are not accentuated. Okay, demanding. The next one is one you should already know. Where's the stress? We looked at this in the first lesson. On the A, that's right. Qualifications. And remember, it's qua, not ka or ka, or qualifications. Qualifications. The next one is easy. Okay. Is the R silent or pronounced in this word? It's silent. Perks. Perks. You can't hear me saying perks. No, it's perks. It's a silent R. Okay? As in the next word, which is exactly the same sound. Perks, work. Okay? It's not work, it's work. Perks, work. Okay? So again, obviously, we've got one syllable, it's there. What about the last word? Okay, freelance would be on the E. And the last one? Rewarding. Or. It's like the word either or. O-R, you would probably pronounce. Rewarding. Okay. Let's move on. We're looking this time at word families. Do you remember a word family we make from the root word, la parola di radice? All right, so the word that we have is employ. Senza guardare, without looking, let's see if you can complete this table. Okay, what do we call the person who gives you a job? Employer. Okay, good. What do we call a person who works? Employee. Okay. Shh. All right, what do we call the number of people who have a job? In general, in a country, we talk about employment, okay, is the noun, okay? So the total people who work, who are in the working age, employment. And the opposite, people who don't work, okay, unemployment. So you talk about the unemployment figures, the numbers of people who do not have a job, unemployment figures. There's a very high level of unemployment in Europe at the moment because of the financial crisis, okay? What about the verb? Okay. And the adjective? Employed or unemployed? Okay. One word in this table is different in terms of the pronunciation to all of the others. Which word is different? Okay. Employee, because the stress goes on E. With all the other words, the stress is always on this oi sound. Employer, employed, unemployed, employment, okay? All of those are the same, but we say employee, all right? That's quite difficult to pronounce, but when you're listening, it's very important that you can distinguish between employer and employee, all right? So remember the pronunciation there. Good. All right, the table was easy. Let's see if you can logically find the right form of the word to complete these sentences. Okay, we've given you the base word. You need to change it into the correct grammatical form and the correct meaning to complete the sentence. So number one, what's the right word? Unemployed. It's an adjective, and it can't be employed because it's find it hard to get an interview if they have not had a job for a long time. So we're talking about unemployed people. Shh. Number two? Employer, employee, what one is it? All employers, datori di lavoro, devono chiedere per le loro vacanze con una lettera? I lavoratori, no? So it's impiegati. Employ. Now, do we need a word in the singular or plural form for this? Plural, because we have all. So all employees is the right one. I couldn't work when my child was sick. Fortunately, my is a very understanding person. Employer, yes, my boss, my employer. And the last one? Be careful, look at all of the sentence before deciding which word it is. Employment or unemployment, which is unemployment because we're talking about 2 large factories closing. Okay, good, all right. So remember, when you're completing sentences for your listening exam, you must read the sentence carefully to decide what type of word is missing and if it's logical. So you might have to write the positive or the negative form of a word. Continuing on, this time looking for work. Put the phrases below in a chronological sequence. This is the procedure which we go through when we're looking for work. Okay, you decide which one comes first, second, third, fourth, and so on. So put them in order. What's the first thing you do when you look for a job? Okay, read a job advertisement. That's number 1, isn't it? After that, go for a job interview? No. Look carefully. Fill in an application form. Apply for a job. Decide that you're going to ask for the job, and then they will send you maybe, or look for the application form online, which you fill in, complete. Then, if you are lucky, you will go for a job interview where you have to talk directly to your new employer. Then, maybe you get some work experience, you get trained, and if you're really lucky, you get a job at the end of all of that effort. Okay. Let's see what you can remember. Fill in an application form. Good. Apply for a job. Read a job advertisement. Advertisement. The stress then here. Advertisement. Next one, go for a job interview. Get training, where you get some practical advice on how to do the job properly. Training. Okay. Be employed. Oh, we've changed the order. Try to make it difficult. And then get work, not walk. You're not walking, you're working. Work experience. Okay. Good. Carrying on. Very topical, hard times at work, economic crisis. Let's look at all the negative aspects of having difficulties for employment. Okay, look at the box at the bottom and tell me which of those words are nouns. Sostantivi, nouns. unemployment, discrimination, a strike, understaffing. Okay, a strike is when people don't work because they are angry about their working conditions or their pay. Okay, understaffing can happen when a factory is trying to cut the costs of production, tell some staff to leave, and the people who remain have to work a lot more because there's not enough staff to do the job. Understaffing. There's not enough staff to do the job. Okay? Unemployment, you know already, and discrimination too. Okay, so the other words were all verbs. Be fired, resign, be made redundant. If you are not sure of the meaning of the verbs, just take a minute now to look at the Italian translation for these words. In your glossary, you'll find the translation. Okay. Now then, what I'd like you to do now, look, I have the symbol again, the talking symbol, where you should talk to your partner. Discuss. I'll give you 2 minutes to answer these 5 questions. You do not need to write anything. I want you to talk together. Try to use some of the vocabulary that we have seen today in your answers. You can use your glossary if you want to look for other words, okay? 2 minutes to answer these 5 questions. Do you understand? Yes? Speaking then. Speak to your partner. Right, I'm going to come and talk to each of you and then we'll get some feedback. Okay, thank you. Let's have a look then at some of the answers that I heard. Okay, what has happened to the unemployment rate? There were quite a lot of you who were thinking employment and not unemployment. Unemployment, remember, is the number of people who don't have a job. And in Italy, we could say, all right, it's gone like that. Remember, when you're answering, look at the question, what has happened? What has happened? So your answer should be in the same tense, yes? It has increased, or it has risen, or it has gone up, very briefly, all right? Many of you just said fell, fall. That's not a very good answer. Try to use the right grammatical structures in your answer. Okay, why do people go on strike? One person said, because they don't receive money. Okay, that's all right. I know what you mean. I understand you. It's comprehensible. But remember, we're trying to use specific vocabulary to demonstrate that we know vocabulary about the topic. So instead of money, what do we use? The word, what specific word do we have for money that you receive for working? Salary. Okay, so that would be better because they don't receive a good salary, or their salary is too low. All right? Number 4, what problems can understaffing cause? Somebody said, more labor for the staff. Okay, more labor for the staff. Labor's not really the right word here. More work for the staff. And what else? If you work more, then you probably have to work. Yeah, last week we looked at comparative forms, is that right? So longer, okay. We can use some comparatives here. What's the difference between resigning and being made redundant? Okay, you can use your words employee and employer to answer. When somebody resigns, it's the employee who decides to leave, okay? Maybe because they have got a new job, or maybe because they want to change their life a little bit, okay? Whereas when someone is made redundant, it's the employer who decides that an employee must leave. So it depends on who the decision is made by. Okay? Here are some possible answers. All right? I'm sure in your other lessons you've already studied some information about graphs. So it has risen dramatically, maybe in Italy. Why do people go on strike? For a better salary and working conditions, maybe. What kinds of people can experience discrimination? Women, young people, ethnic minorities, migrant workers. What problems can understaffing cause? Work-related stress. You've got too much to do, so you get stressed. You might have to work more overtime, and you have a longer working day. Okay? And the difference between resigning and being made redundant, the employee decides to resign, but the employer makes his staff redundant. Okay? Let's move on to some listening. Okay. All right, today, as I said at the beginning of the lecture, we're going to listen to part 4, a text which is a short lecture on a subject of general academic interest. Okay? Remember that part 4 is the last one, and so is usually the most difficult to answer. Okay, remember in the listening paper, there are many, many different types of question that you could have to answer. Today we're going to look at the techniques for answering multiple choice, to label a diagram, that means to fill in a diagram with words that you hear. We're going to look at how to do sentence completion and also completing a table. Okay, so 4 different question types. Okay, just to start us thinking about what we're going to listen to, I want to orientate your minds a little bit to some vocabulary. On your own, individually, think about what for you is the most motivating thing for a job. All right? So put these 8 points in order. 1 is the most motivating for me personally, and 8 is the least motivating for me personally. Okay, 1 minute of silence. Think on your own and write your answers. Shh. Ok, perfetto. Non ci sono i numeri, vero? Non c'è una numerazione per dove è arrivata, perché sul mio c'era... Okay, number 1, I'm going to guess. The majority of you put an excellent salary. Let's see how many said that was the most important. Okay, I guessed right. Okay, the thing which is least motivating for you, let me guess. Flexible working hours. Let's see who put that as number 8. Oh, didn't guess very well. Okay. Good holidays. Number 8. Number 1. All right. The thing which is least motivating, staff facilities. Who put that as number 8? Only 1 person. What did you put as number 8 then? Good holidays. Okay, they're not very important. A good boss. A good boss. Okay. All right. Let's move on then. So, as I said, in section 4, you will listen to a short talk or lecture about academic study or work. There will be a variety of question types, okay? Remember, each listening text usually has at least 10 questions on it. So you may have to complete 3 or 4 different question types on one listening text. You will have time to read the questions before you listen. So here's question number 1. What is important for you to read? Here we are, you're in the exam, you get the exam paper, the questions, and this is the first question. What do you need absolutely to read in order to answer the question properly? What's the first thing you need to look at? Shh. Yes? Yes? The question, it's a bit general. What specific information is necessary? No idea? All right. You have a diagram. Before that, you have the instructions. So, the first thing you should notice is the introduction. You're going to hear a lecture on the subject of motivation at work. Okay, you'll hear that. And then you should start. Remember, we looked at predicting. Think about the type of words that you might hear connected to a talk about motivation at work. All right? Obviously, you know that you have to complete the diagram, but how do we complete the diagram? With no more than 2 words and or a number. So that's important to remember, the number of words. Then, if you're looking at the diagram, you need to see what the other information on that diagram is, so you get an idea of what you need to complete. So, there are 2 boxes, needs or expectations. The other one, achievement of goals. What does it mean? Achievement of goals. Raggiungimento degli obiettivi. All right? Achievement of goals. Reaching your objectives. Influence or affect people's something. And then the other one, number 2. Okay? So we've got an idea of what we're going to hear. We've also got a title. There's my pen. We've also got a title. Always read the title of the diagram. It will help you to predict what the talk is about. Shh. All right, the other things which are important are the numbering. 1, 2. So we know, looking at the arrows, that the order is going this way. All right? Many people get a bit confused because they haven't considered the order of the diagram. So we're not going to go from here and then to here, but here in a clockwise direction. So, summarizing this, read the instructions to see how many words you need to write in the answer. Look at the diagram, try to understand what it is about, notice the title and other words written on it. Notice the order of the missing answers. Arrows, frecce, are often important. All right, are you ready to listen? I'd like you to complete then this diagram. So just write number 1 and number 2, and your answers can go in there.
My lecture today is on motivation at work. If managers to improve the running of their organization, it's important for them to understand what motivates the workforce, to know how to satisfy both the high flyers and those who have lower ambitions or ability. First of all, let's look at the model of how motivation works. You'll see that every member of the workforce has needs or expectations, and these needs and expectations will affect each person's behavior. For example, they will work harder if they know that they will be rewarded. That is, if they can achieve their goals of higher pay or promotion. The achievement of these goals will, in turn, lead to job satisfaction. This then feeds back into the worker's needs or expectations. Over the years,
do you need to listen again? Was it a bit too low, the volume? Okay, let's try again then.
My lecture today is on motivation at work. If managers to improve the running of their organization, it's important for them to understand what motivates the workforce, to know how to satisfy both the high flyers and those who have lower ambitions or ability. First of all, let's look at the model of how motivation works. You'll see that every member of the workforce has needs or expectations, and these needs and expectations will affect each person's behavior. For example, they will work harder if they know that they will be rewarded. That is, if they can achieve their goals of higher pay or promotion. The achievement of these goals will, in turn, lead to job satisfaction. This then feeds back into the worker's needs or expectations.
Okay, so your answers, I hope you managed to understand better this time. It seemed a bit louder. Should be, number 1, behavior. And number 2, job satisfaction. Okay, a general euphoria in the in the lesson. I feel that you've understood that then. Well done. So that's an example of completing a diagram. Moving on, here's another type of exercise. Again, what information do you read in order to understand? Okay, number 1. $20, $90. What do you need to read on this screen in order to answer the questions? The title. Where's the title? The date? All right. We're looking at exercise 3. What we've forgotten is the instructions. Read the instructions of how to complete the space before you look at what information you need. Okay, so no more than 2 words or a number. So in number 3, rightly, you were saying the type of information which is missing. So try to predict what type of information you need to listen for. Shh. Okay, so number 3, yes, quite rightly, it's probably a date. Number 4, a noun, okay. Later research concluded that some people prefer to work a noun, a comparative, an adjective, an adverb. Okay, try and think about that. Okay. So read the instructions, see how many words you write when you're completing sentences. Decide what kind of information is missing, a noun, a number, a verb. Think about the grammatical form of the words before and after the space to help you understand what's missing. And use the words in the sentences to help you locate when you're listening, when the information arrives. So try to keep the words from the sentences in your memory because they may be similar to the ones that you'll hear, and you will hear then much more easily the missing information. Right, let's try this exercise then. Okay, so write no more than 2 words or a number. Are you ready?
Over the years, the development of different theories of management and different approaches to organization has affected the way we view motivation. In the 19th century, the writer Frederick Taylor put forward the theory that workers were only interested in making money. In contrast, in the early 20th century, researchers found that people went to work to satisfy a range of different needs, and not simply for financial reward. One need in particular was emphasized, the social need. An early study done on a coal mining company, for instance, showed that people generally were happier and worked more productively if they were able to work in teams.
Okay. Let's see if you got the answers. He wrote his theory in the 19th century. You could write it with numbers, 19 with the th, or in a word, 19th. Taylor's theory was that people only worked for money. Okay. And the last one, later research concluded that some people preferred to work in teams. Okay? Yes. No. No, that's not concluded. So that's the key word. Okay. Okay, so do you remember how to complete a diagram? We're going to try and complete another one now. Read the information to see how many words you can write in the answer. Look at the diagram, try to understand what it is about. Notice the title and other words already written on it. Notice the order of the missing answers. Arrows are often important. Here's the diagram. Look at it for a quick minute and then I'll put on the recording.
One important 20th century theory of motivation was that put forward by Maslow in 1943. Maslow identified 5 important needs, which he placed in a triangle. At the bottom of the triangle, he put what he called basic needs, good pay and pleasant working conditions. Then, above the basic needs, he put security needs, safe working conditions and job security. His third need he called social, the need to have friends at work and get on with the boss. Fourth were status needs, a job title and social recognition. Finally, at the top of the triangle, Maslow identified the need for advancement, to have a challenging job with opportunities for promotion. His theory isn't perfect, but it's a convenient framework for viewing the different needs and expectations of work that people have.
Okay. And the answers are basic needs and status, not status, status needs. Okay, so even if diagrams might seem quite complicated, out of your area of knowledge, we're talking about, sociology, kind of models about motivation. Maybe you haven't done this kind of work before. The kind of words which are missing will be words that you should be able to understand and write down quite easily. Okay, basic is a word I'm sure you all know. Status, again, is not something you've never seen or heard before. Okay. We're going to look at completing a table. Here's an example. What kind of things do you need to look at in a table? Well, first of all, as usual, the instructions, how many words you need to complete each gap. then, looking at the table, look at the titles of each column, understand what kind of information is in each one. And this is a very simple table, but you may get a table with many more columns in it. You have to look, obviously, at the order of the missing information. Is it going down columns or across rows? And think about that when you're listening, so you can follow the sequence of information. Okay? So this is the technique. And here's the question. Let's try to complete the next section.
And what's more, I believe it's still valid today. During an early 21st century survey of full-time employees, when asked what gave them job satisfaction, 72% said having an inspirational leader. 55% of those questioned found satisfaction in the challenging nature of their work, 50% by being paid well, and 40% said flexible working hours.
Excuse me, can you not walk out in the middle of a listening text? It's very difficult for people to concentrate and very rude. We'll go back to the beginning of that section. Okay. If you need to leave the room, please do it when we're not in the middle of a listening text. Okay.
During an early 21st century survey of full-time employees, when asked what gave them job satisfaction, 72% said having an inspirational leader. 55% of those questioned found satisfaction in the challenging nature of their work, 50% by being paid well, and 40% said flexible working hours. Consequently, we can see that this indicates that today an employee's opinion of the quality of the leadership in their workplace is an important factor.
Allora, stiamo facendo un esercizio di listening e sento soltanto le persone che parlano fra di loro. Come si può concentrare così? Okay, I hope those of you who were attempting the exercise managed to get this. The answers, number 8 was 55% and number 9, 40%. Okay? Now then, when you're listening to numbers and dates and things like this, often you will hear maybe more than one example of each type of number. Write the first one down that you hear. If you're not sure if it's right or wrong, don't worry. Maybe the next one you'll understand, oh yeah, that was the right one. Just write down. You knew, for example, here that all the numbers would be in a percentage form, no? Because the other two examples in the table are percentages. And the title of the column is percentage of employees. So you probably heard 55%, but then what came after that was not clear to you maybe. Write 55%. You can always change it later. All your work is done in pencil in the exam, so you can change it at a later date, okay, at a later time. But write something. Do not leave a blank space. If you hear a number that could be the right answer, write it in the space, okay? Do not leave it blank, all right? Did you manage to do those two numbers correctly? Yes, okay. All right, the last type of question then that we're going to look at today is this type, a multiple choice, okay? So, obviously with multiple choice questions, the first thing to do is to look at the question, make sure you understand what the question is. So what does the speaker say about workers in the UK? Okay, here, as in the reading exam, which we were teaching last week, it's a good idea to start underlining the key words. So in the question, you might underline speaker, maybe, workers, and UK. Okay, he might talk about other countries, or he might talk about other types of people. Okay? And the same in the options A, B, C, and D. Want good lifestyle. Socializing, not priority. Want earn money, or a lot of money. So when you're looking at multiple choice, I think it helps for you to focus by underlining what you think are the key words, the key pieces of information. So read the questions, note how many options you must choose. Often in the IELTS multiple choice exam, you may have to choose 3 out of a list of 6 options, or maybe just 1. So it's important you understand what type of multiple choice question it is. Underline the keywords in the question, read the list of options, notice how they are different, so underline the differences, and if you have time, okay, think of other ways of expressing the options. So try to think of similar words that you know which could be used to express the same idea. You will probably not hear exactly the same word in the listening text as the words written in the options. Okay, it'll be something similar. Okay, so let's go back and listen to the final section. Choose the correct letter.
Influencing belief in the company as a good place to work. Motivation varies over a person's working life and also according to where they live. Studies show that people have different goals in different countries. For example, a good lifestyle would appear to be more important in Spain than it is in Sweden. Financial security is more important in the US than in the UK. Social contact at work is important to workers in both Germany and Australia, but not of top importance in Britain and Italy. As to high status, this is more important in the USA than to Europeans. These results indicate clear differences between countries, but I think they shouldn't be taken too seriously. There have been many...
Okay. Did you understand the last one? The answer is B. Socializing at work is not a priority in the UK. Okay, now then, we've just listened to a complete part 4 listening text. What we've done today, obviously we're training you to approach this kind of text. What we've done today is we've broken it into short sections. In the exam, you would listen to maybe 2 of these sections at a time and have at least 2 different types of question to answer, okay, before the next pause, all right? But today, since we're training you, we've cut it a little bit more. Okay, let's move on now to the grammar. Today we're looking at conditionals. Here are 2 examples of conditional sentences. If I get promoted, I'll earn a better salary. If people retired at 45, it would be easier for graduates to find a job. Which sentence expresses a real possibility and its probable consequences? And which sentence expresses an unreal or imaginary or improbable situation and its hypothetical consequences? So the real possibility is sentence 1, absolutely. If I get promoted, I'll earn. Okay. If people retired at 45, well, as we all know, it's not very probable that people will retire in the future at 45. So, sentence 2 is an unreal or imaginary situation. Okay, so what's the structure? If I get promoted, after the if clause, or in the situation, we use the present simple for the tense. But in the consequence part, we use will and obviously the infinitive. Yeah? This is a little different from your Italian form, because after if in Italian, it's possible to put the will, avrò, or the present tense, or. But in English, the will form is not possible in the if part of the sentence. Okay? So looking at the pictures, what conditional sentence can we make? All right, now it's 1 degree. We're trying to imagine how possible it is that tonight there's going to be snow. In your opinion, if it's 1 degree now, is that an unreal or a probable situation? It's probable, isn't it? That's right. So if it snows tonight, I'll go skiing, okay? Because that's my probable consequence. Real possibility. Okay. There are many ways of making these. We can invert the 2 parts of the sentence. If it snows, I'll go skiing. Can also be, I'll go skiing if it snows. There's no reason to put if always at the beginning. Okay? The difference is there's no comma in the other sentence. Okay, so let's try and complete these conditional sentences. Unemployment until the economic crisis won't diminish, will not, okay, until the economic crisis ends, present tense, okay? As soon as the new anti-discrimination measures become, yeah, because it's the present tense and measures is plural, become law, employers will find a way around them, okay? When you apply, present, for a job, you will have to fill in an application form. Unless we protest, multinationals will continue using child labour. Okay, I've said all of these sentences are conditional sentences, but where's the word if? It's not there. We've used some alternative words, haven't we, to if. We've used the word until, fino a. As soon as is like when, and unless. Unless is if not. Free. When you apply. Yeah, you could make it the other way round. Yes, you could invert the sentence, that's okay. If you apply for a job, you'll have to. When or if is possible here, okay? Both of them are possible. So the alternative words to if are until, as soon as, when, and unless. And all of these can be used in conditional sentences. And you can see after these words, unless, when, as soon as, and until, the verb is in the present tense. All right? Can you remember which word was in the first sentence? until. Okay. And the next one we've already put in, measures. What was the missing verb? Become. Future. Well, when you apply for a job, you'll have to fill in. We're getting tired, it's the end of the day. Okay, unless we protest, multinationals will continue. Well done. Okay, let's have a look at the second type then of conditional sentence. The unreal conditional. Okay, if people retired, what happens after if? It's no longer the present tense, but the past simple. Okay, it would plus infinitive instead of will plus infinitive. Okay, again, looking at the Italian, you've got a different verb type. In the consequence part, it's the same, but you have your different past tense verb. Okay, in Italian. So, making a sentence this time, what's different? Okay, now it's 15 degrees centigrade and we're wondering about snow tonight. The probability of it snowing is very small or unrealistic. Okay, and so the new sentence is going to be, if it snowed, I'd go skiing, all right? Showing that in our opinion, it's unlikely, it's not probable. Again, we can invert the two sections and we can use no comma if we invert this. I think we'll leave this. You can do that at home. What about this one? Number one, what's the right? If we are late for class, our teacher will be angry. Okay. What about the next one? Realistic or unrealistic condition? Imaginary situation, isn't it? So, past tense. If we lived on another planet, we would see. Okay. Unless we... Okay. Unless means if not. If not. So, if we have... If not, we don't hurry. That's a double negative. So it has to be a positive word, a verb in the positive form, unless we hurry. Very probable situation, we will be late. Okay. If a bird, imaginary or realistic situation. Okay, if I were a bird, I would be able to fly. Okay. Unless, if you don't, apologize. All right, so remember, unless must be followed by a verb in the positive form. Okay, the last section we're going to do today is reading. Do you remember? Skim, read the questions and scan the text. Skim, reading quickly to get the general idea of an argument, of a topic. Scan is looking for specific details in the text. Both of them are techniques which you should use to read quickly. Okay, we're going to look at the first question type, which is matching, collegare, information to parts of the text. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is find the sections with the information contained in the questions, choose the letter A, B, or C, and remember that in this type of matching exercise, you may have to use one of the options more than once. IELTS reading tests are very long, and they are usually made up of many, many paragraphs. So you must use your skimming and scanning techniques to do the exercise quickly. So here's the strategy. First of all, skim the passage, get an idea of what information is where, looking at the first and last sentences of each paragraph. Look at the questions, underline the key words. The key words will be what type of information you need to find in the text. Scan the first section, the first paragraph, and if any of the words are similar to the keywords in the questions, underline them in the text. Write the section letter next to the question and move on to the next. Okay, let's try IELTS Express workbook. Okay, this one here. Page 23. Exercises 3, questions 1 to 6. These ones here. Okay. Using the technique which I've just showed you, try to do the exercise. Task practice, questions 1 to 6. Do not do before the task. All right, go straight on to the task practice. Page 23, exercise 3, questions 1 to 6. I'll give you 3 minutes to complete the text. Remember, skim, scan, underline, get your pencils out. Oops, give you a shock. Right. I have seen, looking at everybody sitting down, that the vast majority of you are not underlining. Some of you have started at the beginning of the text and have read it quite in a leisurely manner, and then start looking at the answers and, okay, you will not have time in the exam to read the whole text at your leisure. You will not have time. You must try, prova almeno, to use the techniques which we are indicating to you. You must read quickly. I've given you now almost 6 minutes, and not all of you have finished, all right? That's probably too much time. This is a much shorter text than the one that you will have in the exam. So you should have started by getting a general idea, underlining the first keywords in the first sentence, and then scanning, reading quickly, looking for similar words in the text. Let's have a look at the answers. Okay, the statement, the keywords you should have underlined were industries, job sharing in common. The answer is in paragraph D, because we've got job sharing flourished in financial services, airline industry, independent schooling system. The answer to number 1 then is D, paragraph D. Okay. Number 2, a reference to people wanting more from their lives, people wanting more. This was in paragraph A, in the last line, as we demand more. We, people, demand more, wanting more. Okay, so similar phrases. Number 3, a reference to job sharing as a solution to work-related problems. We've got job sharing in the text in C, in paragraph C, and cure is a similar word to solution. Work-related problems, one is unemployment, etc. So notice you will have to go up and down. We started with the right answer in D, then we had to go back to the beginning, we're looking at paragraph A, then we're going down to paragraph C. The statements will not necessarily be in the same order as the information in the text. So the idea of scanning, going up and down, looking for specific words and types of information is an important technique to develop. Right, moving on. Number 4, the reasons workers benefit from job sharing. Okay, rewards, that's another word for benefits. Employee, as you know, is another word for workers. Okay, and that again is in C. One industry with a high proportion of female workers is, in D, the school system. Female-dominated profession, high proportion of female workers. That's a similar concept, female-dominated profession, okay? And the last one is paragraph B, job sharing an important issue in recent years, okay? Landmark decision is the same as an important issue. Recent years, okay, 98, that's fairly recent, and so on. Okay? Good. Let's move on then to sentence completion with options. Here you have to choose the correct ending from a box of options to make a complete sentence about the reading text. There may be more endings than answers, so you will not be able to choose by process of elimination. No guessing here. Well, you can guess, but it won't be an easy guess. The answers in this type of question are in passage order. Okay. So here's an example. Complete this sentence with the correct ending, A to C from the box below. Workers will probably not take early retirement because A, they are hard to make redundant effectively. B, there are no financial incentives to do this. And C, it is the only method available to them. Now then, using your English and your logic, without reading anything, you should be able to choose the correct option from this box. The answer is B. Can't remember. All right. The answer is B. All right. Workers will probably not take early retirement because, all right, if we look at answer A, they are hard to make redundant effectively. Logically, that does not work. It doesn't make sense, does it? They is who? Workers. They are hard to make redundant effectively. It doesn't make sense. It's illogical, all right? Workers will probably not take early retirement because it is the only method available to them. Again, doesn't make sense logically, does it? So you need to check that your answer is both logical and grammatically correct when you're choosing the correct option. Some options you can immediately eliminate without reading the actual text because grammatically or logically they don't work. So probably when you start reading, you can eliminate 2 or 3 options and only look at maybe the remaining 2 or 3. So the technique that you should try to use: skim the passage, look at the questions, underline the keywords. Scan the passage using the keywords from the sentences to identify things which are similar. Read around this area of the passage carefully. Quickly read the list of endings and underline the keywords. Choose the endings that match the idea in the passage best and check that it is both logical and grammatically correct. Workbook, different text, page 25 and 24. The questions, exercise 5, questions 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Task practice, questions 1, 2, and 3. The options A, B, C, D, E, and F are in the box. Okay. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Okay. Complete the sentences with the correct ending according to the text on page 24. Right. We gave you a little bit of help by saying that the answers are in the first paragraph in this case. Obviously, in the exam, it wouldn't be like that. Number 1 should be F. Okay, a lot of you made a mistake here because maybe you are not considering the meaning of the first part of the first sentence. It says, they decided, so Catherine and her husband decided that Catherine would be the primary earner. Now, a lot of you said to me, ooh, I don't understand that. What does it mean? Well, we've already seen the verb in this lesson to earn a salary, guadagnare. So, earner, you can understand, means a person, not a person who earns. Primary earner would be the most important, the main earner, no? So they decided that she would be the primary earner. Why? We've got the word because. What's the reason they had for choosing her to be the primary earner? All right? If you scan down the first column and find the word, as she was the one with the secure job, the role of primary caregiver fell to Derek. So her husband was the carer and she was the earner. As is a word which means because. So because she had the secure job. All right? So then looking at the options, we can see that F, a reliable job, is the same as a secure job. So the first answer is F. Okay? The next one should be C. They decided that Derek would look after their son because they, and this is the part just above what we've seen, the thought of putting him into childcare for 9 hours, they couldn't bear the thought. What does it mean? I can't bear the idea. I can't support. I can't cope with that idea. It makes me feel bad. I can't bear it. I don't like it. It's not acceptable. So, can't bear, they couldn't bear the thought of putting him into childcare for 9 hours a day. That's the reason. So, what's similar? They didn't want to put their child in care for long periods each day. So, 9 hours, long periods. All right, I think most of you managed that one very well. And the last one, number 3, is E. After a period of time, Derek returned to full-time work. So, earlier this year corresponds to after a period of time, and decided to return to full-time work. Return to full-time work is almost the same as what's in the test. Okay, so number 2 and number 3, most of you managed very well, but number 1 was a little bit more difficult. Okay, let's look now at completing, this is the last exercise, don't worry, completing a gap fill. All right, the exercise is directly underneath the one we've just done, questions 4 to 7, and the answers we're helping you are in paragraphs 2 and 3. Okay. Oops. So don't forget, no more than 3 words to complete the answers to these texts, to these sentences. Complete the sentences. Do you remember how to do it? How many words? 3 words. Look for information in the text, skim and scan, and pick out the right words. Dai che potete farlo. Forza. Coraggio. All right, the words must be exactly those from the article here, not changing them. Okay, let's have a look and see what you've got as an answer. Number 4, remember you must choose the exact words from the text to complete this. There should be no change in the words from the text. They should fit exactly into the sentence. So number 4 should be role reversal, which you can find at the beginning of paragraph 2. Whilst Lumbie and her husband are by no means the only Australians making such a role reversal, research suggests that they are in the minority. So in the minority is still quite small, okay? According to studies, research suggests. This all then is finding the right area and choosing the word role reversal to fit in there. Number 5, highly educated women is the right answer and can be found at the bottom of the paragraph 3, just at the beginning here. All right, it says, including the number of highly educated women in the workforce. In the workforce, who are working. Okay, so we've got a similar words to describe those two things. Number 6, self-esteem. Okay, which comes at the beginning of the 3rd column. It says, for men whose self-esteem is connected to their jobs, and here itself, link their self-esteem with their occupation, so jobs, and income, and they've got and salary. So all of the words fit. And the last one, the word number 7 is guilt, and is down at the bottom here of the page. Okay, how many of you got all of those words correct? Did you manage to get all 4? 3? Okay, all right. homework, and remember, glossary 4 for next lesson. Always a test at the beginning of the next class, yes. The usual test that we have at the beginning of next lesson. Okay. That's the end of the lesson. Thank you.